Greetings, Hotep, and welcome yet again to another live broadcast. It's both a joy and a privilege to be here with the Blue Podcast on Speaks, where we get to have a conversation around prosperity, life, strength, health, wellness, and much, much more. I am really honored to have joining me tonight, and we like to go straight to the chase. So, for those persons that are not as familiar, and I really would like to give thanks and praise to the one most high, living each daily for the one most divine and doing it tomorrow. Yes, you can. We're right here together. We should be here together, and you should be able to hear me. But we're coming. You'll come into the studio in a moment. Just keep in mind that when we speak of our speaks, we're speaking of ancestral sacred traditions. We're speaking of our ancestral sacred traditions, and we're asking that those persons that are listening have an open mind, have an open heart, and be willing to listen as well as share and learn. And we encourage people to go to the YouTube pages for the Crew Podcast. You can also look at some of our speaks at YouTube. This will be rebroadcast there, as well as Speaks and Chenzira Kahina on Facebook. And I really encourage persons to take some time, take moments of reflection that allow for us to speak about, learn about ways in which we build a new legacy, ways in which we reflect and commemorate the important affairs that are of concern in the wider region. The Caribbean civilization is definitely moving in the direction of enlightenment, of transformation. There's been conversations on transforming Caribbean Americas. There's been conversation around transforming our global communities in ways that allow for us to really speak truth to power. So, with that, I'd like to welcome my guest, a returning guest. I would go as far as to say more like a co host here, my beloved spirit sister, Nana Fofier of the Sankofier community, village, nation, society, lifestyle, and much, much more that is in Jamaica. So you have a little bit of Jamaica here, grounded in Akan traditions, coming out of our West Africa, global Africa experience. And I really would like for us to just say a greetings. Greetings, Nana Fofier. Thank you so much for making time to join us on Oz Speaks, where we get an opportunity to speak of knowledge, power, prosperity, wealth, full African traditional spirituality, and much, much more. Give thanks. Are you able to hear us? Uh oh. I do not think our sister is hearing us. So let's see what is going on here. Yes. I'm hoping that you're hearing us, but if you're not hearing us, that's something new on my end or your end. You should go ahead and speak. Can we? Because we were hearing you before, Nana Bofier. So while we're working out why we're not hearing her, which is something that's relatively new. Let us put that energy up and running because we should be hearing, we're seeing that she's online. And please speak because we were just hearing you. While I'm working through that, I'm going to take a moment and play one of our selections, and that should give us a moment to bring some truth to power, some energy.
Africa, we love you.
Okay,
As long
my
as
audio is on.
pushed and shoved
Perfect. So we're
you
going to listen to this song for one moment.
Are we
into
hearing each other? Seems
our
not.
You,
their
can you hear me?
history book.
Hello.
But we know the truth cause we've searched and looked to lift our minds off of Europe's hook. And some still don't understand how much strength and willpower.
Greetings, Sister Queen. Are you able to hear us now? Okay, for some reason you're not hearing me, but I hear you. All right, because I hear you.
Eshuburukba, moshuba.
Perfect. So keep speaking.
I hear
Greeting.
you.
Wonderful. So you can hear
I
me.
am
I
not
can.
hearing you.
Interesting. I'm not sure why you're not hearing me. I have my
I am
audio.
not hearing you.
Okay, give me a
My
second.
audio is on. Let me check again. Yes, it's on.
Yeah, I hear you though.
It's turned up high.
Interesting. Really interesting. I'm not
Not
sure
really
to
sure
off.
what else there is to do.
No, you.
Everything seems to be in order,
Yeah, you keep speaking.
but I'm not hearing you.
Okay. Okay. Output.
Not hearing you.
Hmm,
I'm just clicking here and clicking there.
that's funny. Is that any better? Okay. So
Hmm.
for my listeners, I'm not sure if you are able to hear me. I'm not sure what is really going on here. So I have tried. Can you hear me now? You're not hearing me. Well, part of our challenge tonight has been some of the. Let me see what's happened. Okay. Did you open from a different device, my sister? Okay. Let's see how we can address this. So, for those that are viewing, those that are listening, we were in the process of having in conversation with Nana Fofier of the Sankofier community out of Jamaica, African traditional community that really brings truth to power or truth as power around African
Okay.
ancestral tradition. So we're going to see if we can get her to come out and
Dr. Chin, it's the
yeah,
problem she can't hear you.
yeah.
Okay, so have she checked her settings? Or she on the phone or a computer?
It looks like she's on.
I'm on the phone.
Okay, you need to check
Sorry,
her
I'm sorry.
settings
I'm
on
sorry.
your
I'm on the
phone.
laptop. I'm on the laptop.
Okay, well, make sure you don't have any other browsers open.
No, I don't, as far as I can see.
Okay, go to your settings and check
All
your
right.
audio.
Go to settings and then do what?
If you look up on the, go to settings and check your audio.
Yes, audio. I see everything in place here for the audio. and he's responding even as I am speaking. I had already checked that. Echo cancellation, auto grain background. Yes, everything seems to be okay in the in the audio.
Okay, well, you might just want to go out and come back in because I'm not sure why.
Yes.
But you can hear
All right.
me,
I'm hearing you very clearly,
But you
but you
don't
can't
hear
hear Dr. Chen.
but I can't hear Dr. Chen.
wow.
So you need to go out and come back in.
All right, let me do that.
Fantastic moment. Wow. So, to my viewers and listeners, we appreciate your patience as we work out some of our technical issues. We're looking forward to being able to continue the broadcast of Our Speaks with your host, Queen Mother Dr. Chenzira. And hopefully, our guests will return post haste and we will be able to have sound and everything in accordance as we desire and as we need to. So, I want to make sure that I highlight that to the best of our ability. And I would like to extend my thanks to the Crew Podcast lead, host, and technical engineer, Sister Queen Angela, for just working with us and working through this so that we're able to have a really robust, engaging conversation. Can you hear me now? Wonderful. Wonderful. So, with that, we're going to start one more time. If you can bring her in to the platform, Sister Queen Angela, that would be appreciated. And you can hear us now, Nana Popier.
Very well, very well.
Wonderful. So now that we have covered that, we'll come again. So again, welcome to Us Speaks, where we really have engaging conversations around knowledge, power, and prosperity.
So the sound has gone again. If you can hear me,
I can hear you. I
Sister
hear
Queen
you.
Angela.
Mm, hmm, mm. Okay. Yeah, we hear you, but I know I hear you. So maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll come out and come back. Will that work? Let me try to come out and come back. Yeah, let me come out and come back. Mm, okay. Okay. Well, she came offline. Greetings, greetings. Can you hear me? Okay.
I got in, you disappeared.
Okay.
Or
So can you hear me now?
I hear you both now.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Okay.
Yes.
So let's
It's just
just
that when you started talking earlier, when you started again, the voice went again.
okay. So let's keep it going until it doesn't let us hear. I really would like to extend my thanks to our viewers and listeners for joining in a conversation around affairs that are impacting our Caribbean spaces and that are impacting our humanity. And with that being shared, I would like to welcome Nana Fofier of the Sankofier community. And as I expressed earlier, for those that didn't hear it, there's a lot that comes with the Sankofier community. So, greetings, Nana Fofier. Please share with us a bit about yourself and about the community, and then we can go into our conversation.
Greetings and gratitude, my sister. There's just so much going on now, and yes, it's a time for talk. It's a time for conversations. It's a time to decide how we're going to go and how we're going to come. So Sankofa is a spiritual organization in, I should say, St. Andrew, the parish of St. Andrew, Jamaica. We are trying to relearn who we are with the hope that we can walk into that reality. We have been shaped and formed in so many different ways and molded so differently to how we really ought to have been molded. We have walked away from our ancestral ways, our ancestral knowledge, our ancestral practices. We walked away from what is prudent and the capacity to see when to go and how to go. We have walked away from so much, and now we are kind of reaping the consequences of many decisions that we made and many decisions that we did not make, but made by others for us as humanities, decisions that we have made. You spoke just now, humanity. So at Sankofi, we're seeking to relearn ourselves. We're seeking to relearn our ancestral ways. We're seeking to see how we can become and how we can transcend even the becomings. We're trying to see how we can reclaim ancestry heritage. We're trying to see how we can surpass the legacy that we have here today and to recreate that into a legacy that we can leave that will serve our generations to come. So we are trying. There's so much we don't know, but there's so much we're getting to know. And we yes, we honor our not knowing, but we're honoring also our knowing, our walking into some understandings of spirituality, and how this served those who walked ahead of us, who were, really the sages and the scientists and the everything of yesterday. Nothing we do today started today. And that is such a phenomenal understanding, because it gives us the opportunity to go back to look to see how we can rebalance now for a better future, a future that transcends so much of what the past was, a future that kind of puts us back on a trajectory in terms of where we were heading as a people and where we were taking, meanings and understandings of existence, and meanings and understandings of humanity into a future that, we want to see from spirit world. We want to see our ascendants, as I often say, thriving, not just surviving, but thriving. I look at present time, what's happening in our global community. And when I say community, I'm using the definition of community from our African spiritual systems. And so I talk about a global community. And that global community is a space where we actually owe something to each other, and where reciprocity is the name of the game. In some, we're coming and going, and we're giving and taking and thriving together. And our giving and taking has to do with mending, building, healing communities from traumas, from past hurts, from present situations, and seeing how we can move that to a better space where we can actually start seeing the impacts of what we call community. I've always said the Black man is strongest when he exists in his collective, not as a unit, but as a sum of many units. And that's when we get very strong. We talk about the Anansi's web, and how all of that intertwines to give you something that can hold an animal strongly.
Right.
And if we think of ourselves as, the intricate aspects of the web, and we weave all of that together as a community, as a collective, then there's no limit to the strength, the support. There's no limit to what we can do and how we can recreate and co-create the reality that of the world we want. So yeah, those are some of my dreams and aspirations in saying who I am.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm a child of the ancestors of this land I call Jamaica, I will say. And my interest in seeing how we can move together and accommodate how we can move into community through accommodation, through compassion, through deeper understandings of divinity and how we are juxtaposed with all of these different aspects and elements of life.
Right. And I'm grateful that you are able to still hear me, yes?
Yes,
Very good, very good, very good. Because a lot of what you're sharing, and I am very grateful for you placing your individual soul, self, spirit work in the body of the society, the community of Saint-Copier, and the connection that that has with a wider ancestral sacred African space, and how that relates to what's happening in our Caribbean spaces, and how there are sistren and brethren who are using ancestral sacred traditions,
that's
African,
correct.
African sacred traditions, to be more forward acting, forward thinking, and definitely using our respectful alliance, our respectful veneration for our ancestors in the work that we're doing. So, whether it's to look at what's happening in Sudan that has shifted from outright terrorism and war to now natural disasters causing the lives of thousands of people, whether it's in the Congo, where for the
That's correct.
quest for resources and the quest for the raping, the continuous raping of Central Africa and that entire region, people, land, minerals, wealth, and much more, and how that's being handled or mishandled, I should say. The same thing in regard to what is happening, persons reflect on what is happening in Palestine, where the world is witnessing genocidal terrorism at its highest in the 21st century in that space, and that even the humanitarian efforts to support and help the persons there has been thwarted or interfered with or blocked in a very inhumane, unjust, outright demonic, diabolical form. And, and then to bring it in this region in regard to the possibility of outright warfare, uh, in regards to the quest appearing as it's starting from a space of going after drug traffickers and stopping drug trafficking and drug cartels in Venezuela, when in actuality, some of the most fierce, engaging drug cartels, traffickers, and supporters of that industry are nowhere near Venezuela, right? But because of the oil, the resource, the the destabilization of the Venezuelan sovereign republic, right? There's a lot that comes.
Yes.
So I really was hoping that as we're reasoning and we're speaking of spirit and we're speaking of maintaining our Caribbean spaces, mind you, we have errors and issues happening here. And yes, we've got our own internal warfare happening in many respects, and crime has been an issue.
Yes.
But the intention is to keep the Caribbean as a zone of peace, not bringing in warships, submarines, and air war machinery and troops into this region under the guise of something else, when in actuality it appears it's not just a drug cartel, drug trafficking piece that's being sought after. That's the facade in the front, but it's to go after mineral wealth and to destabilize those
Yes.
countries.
And we chose our conversations relative to what is going on in the space. But supposing we were not in a period of war, as is happening now, supposing, there was actually more peace now than war. Right now, there's perhaps more war than peace, or coming very close to that. The balance certainly has shifted. I don't think we'll ever get to a place where there's 100% peace or a place where there's 100% war, because one defines the other. So there is the coexistence of what we call peace and war. One of the things that has shifted is the nature of what we call peace and war today. It was nothing like Like, when we were growing up, if you heard there was something going on, then the nature of it has definitely changed. I mean, when did it become okay for children's lives to be part of your navigation in a war situation?
Yeah.
When did that become okay? When did that even become possible? When did that even become something that somebody would think to do, or begin to consider, to think that that could happen, that a war could involve children's lives? That is certainly new for me in terms of, I mean, that really just hit my psyche in a way that, I'm wondering if I'm actually mentally damaged in some way, or psychically damaged in some way, because that hits so hard. And you ask the question, if we talk about humanity, these children now who are 5 years old, or even say 10 years old, when they get to be 20 and 30, what would they have known? And therefore, we say we live what we learn, and learn what we live. You're doing the two. So what will their world, when they create the reality of a world, what will that look like? Because this is what they know now. This is what they're feeding on. You're breastfeeding on the run, as it is right now, even the babe on the breast. So, what kind of humanity are we talking about a few years from now, not long from now? What will humanity be looking like? What will we be doing as human beings, even? And it becomes a very, almost like personal consideration for me, because at the start of this year, 2025, that was one of the things we were asked to consider by Spirit. What does it mean to be human? And as a human being, how do you consider that you should be part of any kind of organization, whether it's a government or any other kind of organization that will really reduce life to, it's okay. So supposing these people are drug traffickers, supposing they're not, you just go out and kill them anyway. Is it okay? Supposing they weren't drug traffickers, is it okay to just go out and bomb and take lives? Suppose you see the person trafficking the drug. Is that how we do it? We have to remember that all of us don't have a hell to send people to. It's not all of us. In my spiritual system, we don't have a hell. So we can't condemn somebody to any kind of a hell. We have to think about rehabilitation. We have to think about repurposing ourselves as human beings in more useful ways. Somebody do something, you just don't get up and kill them, or you just get up and condemn them to some sort of irrevocable kind of situation. We have to talk about, this is a community member. This is a
Yeah.
member of the global community. How do we maintain community? What's our first interest, our first service? I am confused, I will tell you. And I am existing with it's almost a thread of sanity, because I get up wondering, why am I sitting here when there's all of this other stuff going on in my community? Because I am part of this global community. Why am I not there walking the streets saying, no, this cannot be? Why am I not there holding some of those children? Why am I not there? How do we sit down every day and we eat food and digest it? Our stomachs don't get into turmoil, knowing that all of this is happening there. What do we do? What
Hmm.
do we do? This is our Caribbean waters. And let me tell you, these are powerful waters, because these waters don't divide us as a Caribbean people. These waters keep us together, they join us together. Some people look at the waters as divide. No, these waters are joining us together as one Caribbean people. And somebody would want to come in close to our waters. Okay, so you're in international waters, but wherever you are, it gives you the right to take people's life, no
Yeah.
matter how wrong or right that person is. How did we get here where we just thought it was just so okay to take somebody that, oh, yes, well, they're all dead? Really? Where did that even come from? What were the decisions we made that led us now to have these kinds of consequences, when in our own psyche we are not flinching, we're not wincing at the thought and hearing people say these things? We're not curling up and dying inside because we can eat and go to bed and sleep?
That's a good point, though. And that's a when you're saying it like that, you're making all of us reflect on that humanity that we speak about. When you have leaders that are encouraging the support of acts of violence very blatantly, when you have leaders that think that it's okay to show the bombing of a community, a village, a space, a war vessel, a vessel in the sea, to encourage the importance of having warfare against entities that may not even be the entities that you should be encouraging this type of engagement with. You know, how do you actually bring truth as power? And we're encouraging persons that are listening and viewing as we finally got, you know, our AST Speaks broadcast on place here with the crew podcast on these first and third Thursdays at 8 p.m. You know, if you have questions or you have comments on this broadcast that's happening live now, you know, share them. You know, when we say Hotep, we're saying peace. You know, we're coming in peace. We're coming in tranquility. And at the same time, we have to be very clear, very honest with one another that what is taking place is they're shamming humanity to think. Just like how persons were very comfortable and remain very comfortable saying that it is okay
Yes.
for genocide to happen in certain parts of the world. And mind you, it's okay to have leaders that are convicted of felony charges determining the actions against humanity. That is this is just inhumane that
Yes.
are being able to be forced to tolerate acts of war, acts of terror, acts of genocide, but then on the other side of their mouth, their other side of their face, because this is not fork tongue. This is like multi-talent, you know, this is like the Predator. You know, in Predator, that film, those that know what I'm speaking of, it wasn't like a fork tongue that came out. The entire jaw space opened up and went into multiple directions. You know, this is inhumane. And this is the time where our silence is no longer useful. It's one thing to be silent and let time be longer than twine. But right now, our silence must cease. There has to be actions. There has to be a quest of not just negotiations, but the type of negotiations that are they are imperative. This is a matter of life or the urgency of minimizing war in this region is imperative. The organizations, whether persons are comfortable with the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the Organization of American States, the Caribbean Pan African Network, the Eastern Caribbean uh, the Eastern, the Eastern Caribbean organizations, CARICOM, and all of these other entities, whether it is the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, we're hearing from the various Caribbean peace movements in the region. No one desires to see warships coming into Caribbean spaces as well as international
Yes.
spaces under the guise of there has to be another solution besides bombing or of making it appear and creating the fear mongering of bombing and dropping missiles
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on ships in the sea.
Yes. You see, one of the things we don't think about, you, you know, I go simple, I go basic. I have a very simple mind. I think things like this. As I just said, we are in the Caribbean. The Caribbean waters join us together. When we start allowing certain kinds of vessels to come into, we are going to the stage where now we're going to see us being divided. That's not the intention of the waters. We're to be joined together. We're to be joined together. So anything that comes in and divides us is going to cause disruption. We're going to start going against each other rather than working together. All of this CARICOM thing is going to fall apart because CARICOM was intended to be a togetherness. We start allowing things to come in and divide us. We will not survive that. We will not be in our area of strength. We will not be working as a collective for the benefit of all. We'll become individual like crabs in a bag. One is everybody pulling down so nobody can get out. We won't be making decisions for the collective good. And we are not understanding these basic principles. We're not understanding this. You don't allow something from outside to come in to divide you like that. Our waters have connected us. The water is more powerful than all of those forces. Why are we allowing these people to come in now to divide us when we have been so powerfully connected? How does that work? We talked to you, you mentioned just now about governments, organizations, leaders. Leaders was the word you used. And whether these leaders are governments or organizations, we just had elections in Jamaica. And this morning we woke up and, the same government is in power. And people are calling. And I said to them, the number of people, I am not so worried about this. What I'm worried about is that we are not realizing that the only power that these leaders can use is the power we give them. Is
Say that one
the,
more time. That's the one that people need to hear. Please,
yes,
yeah, say that one more time,
we
please.
are the people are the only party in power. The people, the citizens, the communities. We are the party in power. The other people, the people we put up there as leaders, they're agents. They cannot use what we do. We don't give them to use. They cannot do what we don't want to do them to do. I had to go put my finger dipping my finger in some. I had to do something for that person to sit there and talk. Who do they think they are? But who do we think we are? Because we obviously are not thinking that we are the ones who should guide and direct these people. They're our agents. We have given them agency by sticking our finger somewhere and say, you stay out and you stay in. Because whether they go in or they go out, we decide that. By one finger going into some ink, do we understand the power of that? Do we understand that that is the power and we are the ones who have it?
And
So
sometimes,
it doesn't really matter which party is in power because the power is ours. They're in our power. So how we think that it don't matter which one, they're supposed to be doing our bidding.
right. And I think that
Everybody come with manifesto. Where's the manifesto? You have a PNP manifesto, a JLP manifesto, or whatever the parties are. Where's the Jamaican manifesto? Where's the Jamaican manifesto? Where's the plan that says 10 years for 10, 15 years time, 50 years time? This is where Jamaica will be. We'll have this number of schools. We'll have 90% of our children leaving school able to read. We'll have this. And whichever party goes in power in that place, that's the plan. And if you're not executing that plan and executing it well, you're going to find yourself sitting on the curb next election or before. What are we thinking? This is not about the leaders. What about us? Each and every one of us, what are we doing? What are we allowing? Do we realize we are the ones who have the power? I don't quarrel about Trump. Trump has been given a mandate. Can you imagine that?
Mhm.
And he's up there doing what he's allowed to do.
Mhm.
He's up there doing what he's allowed to do. His own community plus the global community. And nobody is saying, no, listen now, this is not how it works.
Yeah, I think that people are not telling the ultimate truth that this is a time when we are to, in the political diplomatic space, it's negotiation, having professional reasonings, and making sure. Because one thing that I was very grateful to read and see in various social media, various vetted journalist reports, was the fact that at least through CARICOM, I have not seen the formal official communique from CARICOM Secretariat on these matters. However, respective members ministers of foreign affairs, as well as representatives of various ministerial leadership posts in CARICOM, specifically, Barbados, as well as others, have made it clear that their concern is to ensure that whatever this interaction is, this intervention is from the US, specifically geared and directed towards Venezuela and its destabilization, in the name of protecting the region from drug trafficking and cartels, etc., which we know is not accurate,
And
right?
even if it were, who has given you the authority to come to protect my country from drug trafficking? Hello? I didn't vote for you. Who
So
gives
in
you the
that,
authority to come to protect my country?
when you feel that you are, because the other part that's happening is that America, in its infinite wisdom from back in the early 20th century, they made sure, because this was always the intention, to maintain that imperialist, capitalist authority in the region. They made sure that they kept colonies, whether they call them nice terms like non incorporated, non self governing territories,
Hmm.
whether they call them commonwealths or whatever. And they created military presence on
That's
many.
correct.
So whether it's Guam, Samoa, Puerto
Hmm.
Rico, or the Virgin Islands, they made sure that they had present, or even in Cuba.
In
I've known,
Havana.
to my from young, I used to
Guantanamo Bay. Sorry, I should say Guantanamo Bay more
I'm
correctly.
just saying, from young, I used to ask that question: how can you have an embargo on a country that you don't allow this, that, and the other to come to that country? You controlling or thinking you're gonna control the activities in that country and their relationship with people are surrounding them in that independent, sovereign country. But then you have the audacity and nerve and boldness and obviously permission to be able to keep a base, a military base there, where you're saying that even the people in that country of Cuba cannot go to that area and that base, and you have it fenced off. I,
That's correct.
like,
But listen, as I tell you, I keep things simple. I keep things simple. Tell me how you can have a game in your country that you're the only one playing the game and you call it World Cup or World something.
that one. And I
What
think
does your psyche, I mean, what kind of psyche is that?
it's a psyche that
Nobody else is
encourages,
participating, and it's a world something, world game or
right,
World Cup, whatever they
yeah,
call it.
yes. And it's a psyche that creates terrorism and tolerance for genocidal fascism. I want persons to hear, because we're talking about that you can, that only your military matters, only your position and perspective matters. So whether or not it creates instability amongst people that are forced into a space of fear, into a space of not even accepting their own sovereign rules of engagement, that they will turn on their own. When I started to see this connection of going into Venezuela and then recently seeing the camaraderie and solidarity that exists with certain CARICOM countries that are sovereign republics, as well as their relationships with Venezuela, Colombia, and Cuba in particular, watching the Venezuelan flag and the Cuban flag alongside one another in certain spaces, showing their solidarity, because what is happening is that some of these so-called world powers are using a facade of drug trafficking and drug cartels and other ills that they know none of us want to see people exposed to drug trafficking and any form of
No.
drug trafficking, sex
But
trafficking.
no one of us also want to see a lot of people dead,
That one, that one,
taking life.
that one,
Did we give life?
that one.
You can't restore a life if it's gone, and you can rehabilitate the drug people or put them, where they belong. But once you take a life, that's it. What are you gonna do? So sorry when you discover that nothing was going on. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
And the impact this has on children. And I want
Oh,
to highlight that because you said something very, very, well, all of what you said is very poignant. and on point and eloquent and giving us, as you say, simple. And I like to say, be giving us the brass tacks, giving us the truth, keeping things in truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony. The children that are experiencing these forms of terrorism and genocidal chaos right now are gonna grow up. They're not
Yeah.
gonna follow them.
They're going to
They're
grow
not,
up knowing nothing else but this.
and so what they know, what they're gonna bring to the earth plane 10 years, 20 years, 30 years or more from now is gonna be some of this same issues.
And you know, if it was the same, it wouldn't be so bad, but they're going to be perfecting ways of killing people because nothing stays the same. This legacy that they have now, they're going to improve on it
There
and leave that for the next generation.
there we go.
They're going to find out, figure out how to kill children more efficiently.
There.
I mean, rather than bombing maternity wards, they will find ways to do that. I mean, they're going to be improving on all of this because nothing stays the same.
And that's the part
And
of
we're
what,
not lamenting that. We're not
no,
seeing that.
no,
We're
no,
not saying that this has to stop. No, you know what we've already lost. We've probably lost the next three generations of those people.
right, right, right. And that's what's really challenging at this time, because even in the conversations, we've been having, there's a lot of engagements. A perfect example, while this is going on and it's affecting African people in the Caribbean civilization spaces, there is a directive coming from CARICOM member states and their leaders regarding that before the US is to do anything in this region, they have to confer with the Caribbean region and their leaders. Even if you have one leader over Saw saying kill them violently, even if you have another leader over Saw saying we support that, the troops need to come into the region and we're going to support them because it's going to help our economy. When I heard an entity in the Caribbean put that in print, in newspaper, social media platforms, and make it seem like it was some type of humor driven, we're going to benefit from the presence of troops in the region. They're going to spend their money here. They're going to, and I said, I don't think persons understand the nature of war in this region. The last time that happened, it was not with a very good outcome. Grenada, case in point. It did not look favorable for the people of Grenada to this day.
To
And
this day.
to this day, and persons need to, and remember that was the other piece, that they were, what was it, they were communists or they were Marxists, whether they were or not. And they came with they're going to destabilize the region. And some of our own ignorantly accepted that, coming from a world power that is about dominion and about military right, even if it's not right, just. Yeah. So, like today, there've been a number of throughout the region, a number of solidarity rallies, activities in support of restoring some semblance of peace and order. You can't strip off people's economy, mash up their ability to deal with trade and economic growth, and then when their life situation is so uh, challenging and people are having difficulty with food and survivability, as has been imposed in the people of Cuba, imposed on the people of Venezuela and other parts of the region of the Caribbean Americas. And then you want to just come and bring, I'm going to keep saying this, submarines, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Army into the region? What happened?
No,
Where's all this humanitarian peaceful negotiation that happens? And how come they're not doing that in Europe? How come they're not doing that amongst the entities that are dismantling the very core? That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to.
they
Mm.
The last time we had a mass movement of people coming into the region when the Spaniards came.
Mm,
And then when the British came after, we had these, I call them mass movements. We had these groups of people moving into our areas. We haven't learned from what happened then. 400 years of slavery ensued, and we haven't learned from that. We're still thinking it's quite all right for people to come into our space. The last time a body of people from somewhere came here, moved in, eventually took over, what happened to the people who inhabited this space?
and
What
I
happened to
always,
the ones they brought in
that's right.
to serve their purposes? We are not learning well. We something is very strange. We're not connecting some dots. We're not connecting some dots at all. We're not learning from the past. We always say we learn from our past and we learn from our mistakes. We're not learning from our past, and so we're making mistakes now that are not really justified because we should have learned some lessons. When we start letting people in our space who pretend to be coming with some sort of authority that we didn't give them, what happens? It didn't serve us well before. Why do we think it will serve us well now?
And that's
Why do we think it will serve us well now?
and see, I don't feel that the people, the grassroots people, accept, believe, or know, or even support that. It's just that the people with the selective authority and power that's given to them by the people,
So then
have,
people need to take back that power.
and that's probably, and not probably, that's what we're saying. Because I'm
They
going
need
to
to take back
share
that power.
yeah, I'm going to share what, like, because this situation with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm not, it's public knowledge. When you let your emotion reign, when you are in those types of positions, and again, I've never been a prime minister, so maybe I would say the same thing if I was vexed too. However, in my mindset, I know that it would have been with specifics. I would never just blatantly say kill all of them violently, because that gives an impression. And again, in the mind of young people and not so young people, that come across and just kill them, all of them. So
Yes.
that sounded like some of the chaos that came off of the U.S. congressional floor, where persons were saying kill all of them in reference to the Palestinians in occupied Israel.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're actually even denying the kind of justice systems that we found it necessary to put in place. Where
Uh,
you're innocent until proven guilty. So you just go there and kill it. Where's the due process? Where's
right,
the due process? It's okay now to just go kill people. You don't have to
right,
prove that they're innocent or guilty anymore. Where's the due
right.
process?
Because that's what I thought. I thought that whatever they were going to show, I thought they were going to show the boat. And I mean, and people were saying, it was AI created. Whatever was created, the message that was given, whether it was AI created, real or
Was
not,
not good.
was not a pleasant thing, because it gave the impression that if you in the midst of the water, because it didn't even look like these were people that was like running from anything. At least show that you was chasing them and they didn't slow down.
Right.
Show something. Don't just show the boat rushing through the water and then you
Right.
just gonna drop a missile on them and watch it just blow up completely. You
But
ain't. Mm,
even if that was AI generated, clearly the comments and conversations coming out of some particular houses,
correct,
but we know what color they are, were not AI generated.
correct. And see, so this goes to what one of my colleagues, a very well respected lawyer, legal mind, revolutionary, originally from St. Kitts Nevis, living in the Virgin Islands of the US, and has contributed in around this particular area of our consciousness, of our knowledge system, of our awareness. And one of the things that he highlighted was that, and I want to quote what he said, you know, Attorney Cardinal Mills. I find it quite nauseating when I have to confront the reality that in the 21st century, the white supremacy regime commands such allegiance among those chosen for leadership in the Caribbean, Africa, and the Americas. For example, the sentiments of the Trinidadian PM. Imagine those who follow, unquote. Not my words, you know. This is
Yeah.
what's coming from persons that have definitely a lot more skill, talent, and expertise on the legality elements of what's taking place here.
Yes. We also have to look at Mexico
Ish.
and how that country is aligning itself. I mean, that is an interesting country because if you look at how um, some people have fared in that country, people don't even know. Some people don't even know that there's a whole big population of Black people in Mexico.
Right, right,
And so when you think about that, how does Mexico position itself in some certain ways
right,
and not aligned with causes that affect, and I'm saying now, Black people
right,
in negative ways? I mean, I don't have a problem with each country aligning with whoever they want to align with for their individual good.
right,
But I have a problem when they don't see their individual good as what is as serving the collective good. I don't, when the part of the responsibility is not to make sure that in what I'm doing for my country, I'm also positioning myself as one of the communities in this global space. So when I position myself, I'm also positioning, helping to position others so that all together we can all be well. We can all exist in a
right,
state of harmony, a state of peace, as much peace as we can have.
right,
But how do we position ourselves juxtaposed with each other so that we can have that kind of liberty where people don't have to be walking with fear, where children are not being killed and exposed to this level of violence, where we're not redefining what it means to be human. Because even if you look at the emotions of these children, if you look at what constitutes their psyche after this, it won't be anything like human beings have been. I don't
right,
know. That might be a good thing. Probably need to be wiped out or redesigned or reimagined. But it's a rough process.
right.
Is this the best process by which to do
Right,
it?
right. Well, I would say that it's a process that is in the making to reorganize how we move forward in these times. I just want like to compliment because I know that our time is getting close because we did get a chance. We did start a little late. We had some tech issues,
Yes,
but I wanted to just highlight that. And I like using quotations so persons don't think this is like my personal. I want to support Venezuela because I just want to support Venezuela. But I like for us to deal with truth and balance. And I'm not saying
yes,
that
exactly.
in Venezuela does not have other sides. We need to be clear on what the people need in Venezuela
Yes,
and make sure that this effort of going after quote unquote a war on drugs sounds very similar when they said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iran and in Iraq. And the next thing you know, there was nothing there. But by that time, they had blown up the countries, right? So I want
right.
to just avoid that in the region. Maybe because we live here, but definitely because definitely because life is very important to those of us that promote life. But I want to
Yes,
highlight that there were a number of articles in the Internationalist 360 as recent as yesterday, and there's a whole hoax. And I want to share this content. Former UN Anti-Drugs Agency Director Pino Archelachi dismantles the Venezuela quote unquote narco state narrative with 30 years, not one or five, 30
correct.
years of reliable data. Quote, during my time as head of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, I frequently traveled to Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, and Brazil, but never to Venezuela. There was simply no need. The Venezuelan government's collaboration in the fight against drug trafficking was among
Exactly,
the best in South America,
exactly.
rivaled only by Cuba's impeccable record. This makes Trump's narrative of a narco state in Venezuela sound like geopolitically
Yes.
motivated slander. The 2025 World Drug Report tells a story that is the opposite of the narrative peddled by the Trump administration. Piece by piece, the report dismantles the geopolitical lie built around the Cartel de los Soles, an entity as mythical as the Loch Ness Monster, but which is useful for justifying sanctions, blockades, and threats of military intervention against a country which, incidentally, sits on one of the planet's largest oil reserves. I'm going to
There you
stop
go.
here so that when we have these
Yes.
versations and people want to speak of Venezuela need to be blown up or whatever and kill all of them and that kind of foolishness, you need to do your research. Don't just listen to one side of the situation.
Listen, yes.
Okay. Make
And the
sure
other thing is, I'm thinking that as human beings, we have to draw some lines somewhere. When does it ever become right to kill children? When does it ever become right to kill pregnant women? On the slave plantations, they used to dig holes so they could put the woman to lie down and put her belly in the hole to whip her. And we thought that was bad. No, they're just killing the pregnant women outright.
time
When
outright.
did we ever give ourselves to say that that was okay? My
Right.
position, I said whenever we start killing children, pregnant women, everybody's wrong. Nobody can tell me that they have a case and that they're in the right.
There you
When
go.
you start killing children, you start killing pregnant women, everybody is wrong.
There you go.
Even I am wrong.
There you
How do I sit down and let that happen? Everybody is wrong when children are put in those kinds of positions. Everybody is wrong.
So, with that, my sister, and I know that I want to thank you for making time to join us this evening. We know that
It
we
was
keep
a pleasure.
going over and over and going longer. We are grateful that we are asking for persons to, pray for peace in action. Make your actionable deliverable restoring peace. The Caribbean, with all of its issues, has always been regarded as a zone of peace and moving in that direction of a zone of peace, of not bringing warfare in this region. So do what you can. Speak to your leaders, whether you elected them, selected them, or appointed them, or even didn't want them there. Encourage them to find not just negotiation, but quote unquote diplomatic means to minimize killing children, killing women, killing men, killing, destroying, dismantling families. It's one thing to do with deportation, especially deportation, deporting people to countries they don't even come from or have no connection to, because you're trying to create your own huh, greatness, which is not so great, right? But at least let us restore humanity. Let us restore our shared humanity to the best of our ability. And I want to thank you. And I
It
would
is my pleasure to share with you and to be part of this conversation. I think we really need to be having so many conversations which bring action, which bring even understanding.
I'm grateful
I'm
in ways
grateful.
that I cannot even give words. Thank you so much, my spirit sister, in this life and many others, Nana Kofié of the Sankofié community. And as we always start, culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. We encourage our listeners, those that are within earshot, honor your ancestors, call on them to give us guidance so that the Almighty will get us through this as we restore our zones of peace.
Yes, we give thanks.
We thank.
I feel them on my shoulder, begging me to drop bombs like boulders as a cultural molder. They insist that I use my gifts as a lyricist to bear witness to the past, present, and future of African greatness, and always place emphasis on the beauty of blackness. I never digress into the common connotation of my color with slackness. Tell the people the truth, not petty myths like blackness. Direct them to the proof of an African genesis and be a portal through which they can access the inner emperor and the inner empress. Cause it's the duty of every man and every woman to manifest God in flesh. So we honor the body, the Ori, and the Ruach Kodesh. We say Hetep Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Jah bless cause. This poem and all the rest are for the ancestors.